Miss Gloria, we on you, whatever, whenever you ready. Just give us the go ahead.
I'm ready. Either way it goes.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, wow.
welcome to the group chat, man. Welcome to the group chat. Another special episode, episode 6. Yeah, as you can see from all sorts of angles.
A lot of angles today.
A lot of angles today.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, Lord.
Special
Okay.
episode today, man. We have our godmom.
Special guest.
Our godmom, Jovi.
Special guest.
You just met her, bro. I don't even know how to describe her, but she's our godmom. She's someone we look up to, Miss Gloria. Yeah, she's admired by a lot of people. A lot of people.
Oh, bless your heart.
We appreciate her for her time and effort to join us on some fruitful conversations, as you guys know. But yeah, before we get into it today, we reflect from last episode. Thoughts, opinions from how we've been. We talked about discipline, self-discipline. Yeah, self-discipline.
Right.
No, it's on.
It's on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Self-discipline.
self-discipline.
I mean, last episode, was for me, it's probably my favorite episode. I know I missed a lot, but self-discipline is one that, we all struggle with daily. But I feel like for me, after that episode, I was conscious. I felt like more and more my day went by. Monday went by. I caught myself, doing the little things. And I feel like that's important. If we do an episode, let's live on it. Let's stand on that for sure. So I feel like the episode was really, really good. It touched home for me, and yeah, I guess for a lot of us, because it was a really, really emotional episode. When we talk about where we're coming from, what we've been through, and how we're here, why we're here. Self-discipline is big.
Yeah. I'll say the same thing too. Live on it. I like how you said live on it. That was my goal. Not it's not just every week we have the episode. We're not just out here preaching. We're trying to live by what we're actually saying too.
Absolutely.
So you saying live on it, that's something that I challenge myself each day throughout the week. This week it was a hard week actually. As you can see, I think one day you were like, you look tired today. Yeah, but just days like that, I told myself, like, wake up, go to class, show up, do the little things, and you'll be fine. So it was a hard week. It was a long week, but I showed up. That was my biggest goal this week was to show up, even though I was tired mentally, physically as well. I showed up. So I love how we are actually living by what we're trying to say.
No, for sure.
I was also the same. I was just trying to keep a routine and stay consistent throughout the week. Like you said, show out. Like I was tired in some of the days, but just being there and being able to do everything was good.
Yeah, I mean, Jovi kind of touched on my part of it too. Like we talk about self-discipline, so after that, you're more conscious about it and how you're going about your day and the things you're doing. Is it leading towards the goals you set for yourself? So after we have these conversations, which is really, really good, right? And you understand some parts that you need to work on, some parts you're falling short. Now you're more conscious on the things you do and how you move. So then I feel like that kind of like where I'm kind of like helping myself to grow at, I would say. So.
Yeah. Any thoughts about self-discipline?
Well, I guess I'm a little off because I thought we were going to talk about the
No,
perspective.
we will.
Okay.
Just your.
As far as self-discipline, it's called self-discipline, where we as individuals cannot expect someone else to make us or even encourage us sometimes. I think about when David said that he had to encourage himself. And so self-discipline means that I have to give an account of what I need to do regardless of what's going on. You gave an excellent example that you were tired and you looked tired. But nevertheless, it was something that's within your own person that said, now regardless of what Ms. Glory might have said how you looked, but I'm not the motivating factor when it comes to us being accountable. That's what pretty much it is in a nutshell, is that we, and especially as young people, being accountable without any reason or excuse not to do what is needed when the goal is greater than the tiredness. So that's what self-discipline is.
Appreciate you. But yeah, man, that was our little, spiel about the week. Comment down below anything throughout your week as well that you faced that you'd like to share. But yeah, today episode we're building off of episode 4, where we talked about. If you haven't watched, please go tap in because you probably be lost and not know where we're going with this conversation. But yeah, we're building off of episode 4, where we talked about living with eternal perspective, faith. This is part 2 of that, which is why we have Miss Gloria here. She, like I said earlier, she is admired by a lot of people. Previous episode we've talked about our community, people we want to surround ourselves with. She's someone that I look up to. A lot of people look up to. I spend a lot of my times with at school because she has so much to give. She's not just giving to us, but we're also giving to her. But for me, as open-minded as I am, and as my friends here are too as well, we like to stick to someone we can learn and gain from, because we're never close to it. So that is why we have her here. We have some questions. She brought her own questions for us. So stay tuned as we dive into it. We can start from Gabriel. Let's go to the left this time, or Miss Gloria, unless you want to start with your questions, or we start with our questions.
You can start. It doesn't matter.
Okay, we'll start with
Is there
Gabriel.
a camera? Where am I supposed to be looking at?
Oh, your camera right here. Your camera right here. Yeah, your camera right there. Yeah.
It's like get my best angle.
But yeah, I mean, thank you so much
You're
for doing this with us, to come to speak with us. I think when we talk about the episode, when we did it on episode 4, we talk about somebody we can bring in that can help us dive into this more and talk about this more, because we felt like we wasn't like really experts on the topic we was talking about, but it's an open-minded conversation we was having. So my question that I kind of had was, in terms of finding perspective and faith, I was thinking, like, what are 3 things you think that us young men that we can kind of start with to help us out in terms of living a life of faith and having that perspective where we have God in our life? What are 3 things you think we need, that you think will help us on that journey?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not an expert. However, I am a mother of a 46-year-old son and 2 grown daughters. I've worked in various fields. I've worked as a correctional officer. I've worked as a medical assistant. And then I worked there at the college. But I'm just going to talk from, and then I am a licensed missionary at my church. So I do my best to pray and ask God to lead and guide me. So on that note, my answers would be, what are the 3 important things that anyone would have when it comes to perspective, faith, and eternal life? It would be, first of all, knowing the Lord Jesus Christ. That would be the first thing. And then it would be self-awareness. And I think I would have to say having goals. And now when I said Jesus, that encapsulated a lot of things, such as faith, such as hope, such as the things that comes with knowing Christ. So I believe that those would be the things that I would say that would help anyone along this way called life to be successful. And I'm add another one, or maybe I'll put a comma after Christ, a prayer life, having a communication with God, being able to speak to Him about the things that we want in life and then be sincere about it. So that's what I would say. So I'll either add 4 or attach the other one on to knowing Christ.
Yeah, that's totally fine. And then just to build up of that, when you say knowing God, is that in terms of like reading the Bible and diving into that and knowing knowing the word for yourself, or does that entail other things as well?
Well, to know him, you have to read about him. So definitely, how can I know you if I don't sit and have conversation with you? Now, if you left a book concerning your life, then I can read. So I would say reading the Bible, and not only reading it, but believing it word upon word, precept upon precept, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The things that we feel that aren't applicable at that time, but it will be later on. So I would say reading his word, because in his word we find him. I can tell you something, but until you read it for yourself,
Right.
because his word will speak. The Bible speaks to every crevice in our heart. The Bible speaks to it.
Can you touch up on the self-awareness aspects? Like, how do we become self-aware in our daily life when it comes to things to help us young men out? Because there's so much going on in the real world, and it's easy to become distracted, right? How do we become self-aware, trying to know God, knowing that this world just throws out so many things left and right? How do we sustain that self-awareness?
How do we sustain, or how do we
become or
and then
maintain it? Yeah.
It goes back to the word self. How do you? I think it goes back to principles that were. There are some things just innate in us, because in the beginning God created man, and everything he is, he put in us. Nor was he afraid to put everything in us, and so the innate that's in us, that comes from above, and then the things that we were taught. And I do understand that everyone does not come from a wholesome environment, but nevertheless, people have been allowed to cross our path, to speak into our lives. And those positive things really do have the ability to attach itself. It really does. People can say what they want to do, but those positive things have the way of attaching themselves to us. And then when the moment comes when we are alone and when the pressures of the world arise, then do I go with my consciousness that says, you know better? Or do I go with the peer pressure? So you begin to, once again, evaluate and pray. Because he said, I know my plans that I have for you, and they're not to do you harm. So when things around you, when you look at it from a clear and mature perspective, you know what's right and you know what's wrong. But if the Bible says that my plans are not to do you harm, then if what's before you is harmful, then it's the decision that you have to make. And then you write it down, you memorize it, and then I would say above all that you have to be honest. I think honesty within our own persons are the most important, because a lot of people live in fantasies. A lot of people live in the what ifs. But let's live in what is. And so when we're honest with ourselves and then we present it, there's a thing that says an alcoholic can only be helped when he or she acknowledges that there's a problem. Right. And so when you know that there's a problem and there's a struggle, then if you're honest, and it goes back to what you said and what we talked about, how do we know God? By reading his word. And in that, then then the presence of God's Spirit tugs on us, and we go from there. It's that struggle of right and wrong. So you combine all of those things together. It's like a recipe. And you don't forget to put sugar in a cake if you want it sweet. If not, you salty it up and you go on about your business, and you won't be very appetizing to the person that comes across your path.
Right. Whew, thank you for that, Sabu.
Hi, Miss Gloria.
Hey.
Thank you for coming. This is
Oh, you're
amazing.
welcome.
So one of the things I spoke about last episode was consistency, and I found that early on my spiritual journey, a lot of the things that I struggled with was consistency. So I was just gonna ask you, like, how do you overcome that throughout your daily life, or even just when you started? Like, what did you do to maintain that consistency over time, and essentially build up your faith?
How, you know what? Life is still a struggle, sweetheart. You know, I'm still struggling with consistency. You know, but I would say, how do you do that? When I consider my purpose unselfishly, then the consistency comes. When I realize that my life is more than just Gloria, that other people depend on me, so I have to show up. Goes back to what you said. You were tired, but you came because of the consistency. Because when we look at this picture that's greater than us, then consistency automatically, it becomes like a breath. You know, you don't forget to breathe. You know, you don't forget to inhale and exhale. And so when you realize that your life is greater than you and the purpose is more than what we want in life, and there's other people that are really depending on us, then consistency comes. And then how do you maintain it? You yet have that recall of your purpose and that you're not a one-man's band. That's what I would say.
Miss Gloria, my question I have for you is, how has your faith influenced your understanding of the concept of eternity?
How has my faith
Influence your understanding of the concept of eternity?
Because I believe that every man is given a measure of faith, and that faith is not for material things. The Bible says he gives every man a measure of faith, and that faith is to believe that he is. And then he's a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. So how does my faith in Christ, in God, motivates me to read his word? And then reading his word, it becomes, God's word is a living organism. It should bring about a growth. You know, it reproduces. And the reproduction of that is greater than great. And so my faith is believing that God is God, and that Jesus is his son, and because I believe that, then I have to believe that there's eternity somewhere. If I believe everything else, if my faith allows me to believe that part, then it has to allow me to believe everything.
Why is it so hard for people to believe that?
You have to ask those, you know, that now see, I can ask you that. Do you believe it?
I believe.
Okay. Is anyone on this couch that doesn't believe it? You know, yeah. So we would have to that could, I know that's the individual, and that would be the person to ask who don't believe. Mm-hmm. But we also have to be aware of this here, that we do have an adversary. You know, that we do have an adversary, and that his game plan is to bring about a distrust, to bring about a non-belief in Christ. And so people listen. And I would say sometimes I I feel from my experience that people get hurt along this way because sometimes we put too much blame on God when things don't go right. And when we do that, when things don't go right, then it causes people lights to dim in their belief of who God is.
But he said not to believe, not to. I was listening to something and it says that when things are going bad, say thank you. When things are going good, say thank you. Right? Because circumstances shouldn't determine who God is. God is what he says he is, regardless of what we go through. Right? But yet, why would we just confuse who he is with our circumstances?
Because everyone may not be at that place of faith where we are. There's so many factors to people's lives that will cause them not to have that sure foundation. You know, he's God. He's sovereign in all things. When I had when the Lord allowed my daughter, I almost lost my baby girl in 2019. But I yet had to give him honor and glory when she was healthy.
Yeah.
And when we almost lost her, as a matter of fact, COVID hit. 20, was I believe it was but we're not going to get into the politics of all of that.
Right.
But 2020, when the world came to a stop, we were kicked out the hospital.
Yeah.
And she was in intensive care. And the same God that was there when she had flown to Atlanta, because she was president of the BSA there at IUSB, healthy, turned 21 years old, doing really well, was the same God that I needed when I didn't know if my daughter was going to live or die. Now, that's my experience. And so I can't answer that question, but I can kind of say it depends on people's perspective. A lot of times it depends on what people have gone through in life, and who they listen to. But it's a learning process for somebody, and it's wonderful for those who can do what you said, but everyone can't. So I think you have to ask that person who doesn't have that, the faith of where they could speak so fluently about their love and their relationship. I think that person would be the best person to answer that question.
Okay. So you're saying you after that happening with your daughter, you still have faith
Absolutely.
in God because of the foundation that you already kind of had and built.
Because of the measure of faith that he gives to everybody. He said he gives to everyone a measure of faith. And because I was able to plant that faith, and so I trusted that he would be there. Now, that's not to say that I didn't have some days of struggling concerning his will, but I knew he was God. That didn't change the fact that he was God. But my struggle was, what are you going to do with my daughter?
Right.
What are you going to do? My faith says I know that you're able. I know you can do anything but fail, but will you do it for me? And when he did it for me, it wasn't so much as my faith being increased, but I think it was my love for him. Ooh, it was that love for him that increased. Knowing that you love me that much, that you gave me the desires of my heart. And because when we love someone, y'all know what that means to love someone. I know y'all got some. Well, you'll learn pretty soon. Yours is coming.
Hey, you will learn pretty soon.
Yours is coming. As long as you don't get infatuation mixed up with love.
Yeah.
why y'all looking at? Okay, Archie's over there blushing.
Actually blushing.
He blushing.
I'm blushing. You got something to say about love? I don't have any.
So yeah, you do. So when you love someone and things and they show up, what do? Do you love them less, or do you love them more?
More.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Archie, you love her more or less.
Jovi, take us, man. Take us, Jovi.
Nah, but love is in the air for real. Nah, I mean, just to write off, what we're talking about here, it's like always have a perspective. We say where there's good, there's bad, and there's evil, and I feel like with his question, why some people struggle to believe and have faith. I was talking about the on the last episode. I was like, something that always intrigues me is like, I don't know that there is eternity, but I have faith, and you can't believe in something that you know. You have to have hope and have faith in that. And the question I have for you is basically like, when you were our age, or when you were in college or younger, because you're still young and beautiful, of course.
Of course.
But we face a lot of obstacles in our life. But what was those obstacles that you faced and you overcame when you were finding your purpose in life? Because I know you have a strong purpose, as these guys speak highly of you every day that I'm around them. So that question is, it touches me because I really want to, hear your lifestyle, your experience on, finding your purpose and what was the obstacles you faced.
Oh, something that you said, I want to go back to before I answer that. You say you don't believe in eternity? Is that what you said?
No. I was like, you can't know something and believe in it. You have to have faith in it. Like I have faith that there's eternity. I don't know that, but to believe in that and have faith in that is what I find interesting, that it's called faith. Like I can't know that for sure. I can only have faith in that. That's why I was trying to
Well, faith is a substance for things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Faith is, and you're absolutely right, I think that we have an idea that eternity is forever, and so I think sometimes we can get mixed up with, is it so much as of not knowing what's there in eternity versus not believing in eternity. And I think sometimes that's what we struggle with. I know that this body isn't going to live forever. I just believe that. And not only do I believe that, what has caused me to believe that is because people have passed on. And where are their bodies? So when you have that life experience, that people that was once here in physical form are no longer here, and you see their last breath taken, and then you go back to the reading of God's word that talks about temporal and eternity. Temporal is just here today, gone today, used to be here today, gone tomorrow. Eternity is is infinite. It goes on and on and on. So when you have the faith to believe what the word says, then I struggled with sometimes not knowing what is in there. What's in it? What am I going to see when I get to this place that is forever? That's my struggle sometimes. What built my faith as I was growing up, being made to go to church. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you know, you leaving here. My mother said.
Oh yeah.
That's what I said. All of us, you know, he talked about it.
Oh, okay. You know,
waking up early to go
right?
to
Come
Sunday,
Sunday,
yeah, you go
come Sunday, you know, you're getting out of here. You know, and school was closed. You weren't allowed to go no one's home, right? You know, so you know, I was made to go to church. And then once I got there, you know, the things that was said, the things that were taught, then it goes back to what's the innate in us that connects with God. And then when God, I'm not going to use the word if, when God puts his spirit in us, his living spirit in us, and then when we hear, it's like a plant. You put a seed in the ground, one plant, one water, but God gives the increase. So what is it that compels me now is because my mom made us go to church. That was the seed. Then other people that crossed our paths was the watering. And then God gave that increase of faith that he put in us. And so it builds, and then life experiences such as the one that I gave concerning my daughter. And then other things as I began to grow up, you know, the challenges of my life, and then the good parts of my life. So, and then knowing that should not have happened, but it did. Knowing that on several occasions I shouldn't be here, but I knew that God intervened on my behalf. And then, above all, God will speak to us. He speaks to us, sometimes audibly he speaks, sometimes through people who he allows to cross our path that connects. And it makes us regurgitate what we've heard from years ago. It's like, oh, because it's down in there. And when you need, it's like a camel in the desert, that things are in it. The water is already in their reservoir. And so when it comes across the dry places, then it has the ability to regurgitate and refreshes itself. And that's how it is when we know where our help comes from as little boys and even as little girls. In this case, the wonderful thing about God and the wonderful thing concerning believers is that there's no gender in faith. There's no, you know, everyone's experience really is the same.
There's no gender in faith.
There's no gender in faith. Absolutely not. God,
You think today in today's day and age we're struggling, like not we, but this world that we live in is struggling to believe that there is no gender in faith?
I'm not talking about the world. I'm not talking about temporal. I'm not talking about this old flesh. This flesh argue a bunch of stuff. To denounce or to belittle or to dilute the power of God. But I'm talking about the spiritual. There's no bond or free. Male or female. That's what Miss Gloria is talking about when I said there's no gender in faith. It comes to everybody.
Yeah.
And there's equality in it. It's just, what do you want to do with it? What was given to you?
Something to think about, you know. But yeah, appreciate you guys for your questions. Now we're gonna turn it over to you, Miss Gloria.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Turn it over to you.
Let me see, because I was writing some things down. What I appreciated that I heard. It was Archie. Archie, you were talking about life lessons, and then you used the soccer team as an example. And I said, can you give some, you didn't use that example, you just used it. And I wrote down, the next time, can you give some examples when we were talking about the concept of, what was it? You talking about emptiness and being stuck?
Oh, okay.
From last episode.
Uh-huh,
Oh,
uh-huh.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
From emptiness and being stuck.
Mm-hmm.
For emptiness, an example I could use was a lot of this last season.
Uh-huh.
Gabe left, Kamori left, Victor left, even Amos left. So my close friends within the team they were all gone. So I felt like even coming into preseason, I just felt empty. Like I didn't feel like I was enjoying it as much. The close bonds wasn't there. Like of course I was still friends with the other players, but it just was different. And then you said emptiness, and what was the other one?
Stuck.
Being stuck.
Being stuck. In terms of being stuck, yeah, I just felt like overall the team, like it just felt like we were in a rut. Like we were just going through the same process over and over again. Like we weren't improving. Like every year there's new freshmen that come in, and it's harder to like build up the squad and maintain that level. So it feels like you're stuck somehow. Like you're not achieving more than you want to. You're not doing better. I guess that's what kind of I was talking about.
So how have you learned anything from that with the absence of friends and the goals that were set?
Yeah, of course. I learned that not everyone's not going to be there all the time. Like you have to go through life for yourself. Like you're your own human being. You have your own journeys and stuff like that. So of course it's going to be rough, but you just have to adjust to it. That's life. It's just what it is. You can't change that. And then in terms of like being stuck, for me, I try to improve every year. So whether it's my spiritual journey or my physique or just working on my mental health, like it's just an improvement year after year. And I never want to be stuck in the same place. I always want to be ambitious and going for more, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I know you guys are talking about success.
Okay.
Yeah, success.
Yeah.
What was it? It was the perspective of success. So, what is success?
I mean, we
everyone.
yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
Success to you.
So success
For Gabriel.
Yeah, we talked about it and was like it could mean different things for different people.
Right.
And for me, now that through the experiences I've been through, I think success for me means being happy, like finding happiness and finding my purpose of doing something that I enjoy and I'm happy with, and having my family around me and the people that love me and I love them, having them around me and being healthy. I think that's what I find joy in now.
Okay.
So I think that would be success for me.
Okay.
That's what I'll say success, being happy.
Okay. Archie, what is success?
For me, essentially similar to Gabe, I would definitely mention like being healthy, like my family being healthy, my friends being healthy, but also I know this sounds a bit, I don't know, but I would say financially comfortable. I feel like that's a lot of the things that impacted me like throughout my life. So just because where I come from, like we didn't have much, so the idea that I have something to work towards, like I want to work towards that and help out my people. But yeah, that's success for me.
Amos?
Success for me, I would say a lot of things that I find. One Gabriel touched on is being happy internally is success to me. Leaving this apartment, going to school, coming back home to see my friends again, that's success for me.
Okay.
Going back home to Minnesota to see my mom and siblings, that's success for me. Going to school, that's success for me. Doing things I love, not things I like. I love doing this. I love sitting on this couch. I mean, it's crazy. Like, we've been talking about this for a while. Like when Kamoy was here, Victor was here. We've been talking about this like since I was a freshman. We've been talking about doing things like this. We've had a lot of great ideas, but doing this at this current moment in this current stage of my life, this is success for me. I'm sitting here with a new group of friends. That's success for me. Waking up each day knowing that I'm in the right state of mind, that's success for me. Yeah, for me, that's what that is. Yeah.
Well, personally, I feel like if you ask this question to anybody, I think it's going to be measured differently. I feel like there's going to be 4 different perspectives on success right now, because mine is a bit different.
Okay.
I feel like when I hear the word success is, me setting a goal and accomplishing that goal, no matter what it is. If I set a goal out to go in a tournament and score 5 goals, give five assists, for me that's a successful season. And whether it's measured differently by a different teammate, maybe I have a teammate that says, "Oh, I want to score 20 goals." Is his success better than mine because he has 20 goals? No. It's measured differently based on who you're asking at the moment.
Right.
So for me, success is a big, big word, and it's weighted differently, of course. And time and time again, as I'm growing up, I'm seeing that people use the word success, misuse the word success. Is money success? Maybe for someone, maybe it is. But where we should draw the line is not misusing the word success, and misusing it for happiness or even self-interest or self-pleasuring. I just feel like success is a word that can get tied in differently, for sure.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you said that, and I appreciate every one of your definitions of what success is, because success is, it's broad. It's whatever goal that we set and achieve it. When I was growing up, the word success goes back to what Javon said. It was always wealth, And so as a young woman, I didn't think that I was successful or even achieved anything as far as being successful in it, because it was defined so different. It was defined as wealth. They're successful. It was Hollywood and movie stars and, artists and all of these. That was what success, when we heard success. But as I began to get older and realize that success is a state of mind and I would beg the difference to use the word happy. It's a state of mind of being complete and to be happy in the goals that you set for yourself. And I also feel that success, we should allow it to be pliable, so that we have an aim to want to complete something. Just like Javon said about, you setting a goal to do. You play soccer, I assume. To kick the soccer ball into, was that the goalie? 5 times. But if you only do it 4, then are you just as successful? Do we lessen our the word success because I didn't do the 5? Or do I say I was successful because I had a good game and I was able to play? That's what I'm saying, that a lot of times that I've learned that along this way, you're absolutely right that we have to measure it. And that, like I told Amos when we were talking about that about a week ago, I said that life should not be felt like life is cement where it becomes hardened and we can no longer be able to move. Once cement settles, it becomes hard and hardened, and you can't do it. It's not pliable, and you're stuck.
Right.
However, sometimes life can be, I use the word quicksand. Sometimes it's a struggle. You know, sometimes we feel weighed down. And I laugh because every movie, I don't know, do you guys watch old movies? The Tarzan movies.
Oh.
Well, you want to watch a lot of Tarzan. The reason why I say that, because it seems like that in the Tarzan movies, you find a lot of places where there's quicksand. You know, that was about the first time I was introduced to quicksand was watching Tarzan movie. How, but in that, if you ever notice that people who got stuck in quicksand, for some reason, they were always able to get their arms up. You know, I've never seen a movie where when someone was struggling in the quicksand, they was down like this, but it was always up, struggling. And then you pray that there's someone on the solid ground to extend a branch or a rope, and that's there to help you, to help pull you out. But in order to pull you out, you have to sometimes stop the struggling and just stand. They say, wrap it around you. So you wrap it around you or you hold on to it. And then they say, relax. And when you relax, they're able to pull you out. But as long as you're struggling in that quicksand, you're going to go down fast. And so that's what I would say, that if we allow success not to be pliable, then it hardens and we go no further. And we can't do anything in life. So when we set goals, and if that goal is not met then, doesn't mean that it won't be met eventually. You just maintain that 4, because the next time you're going to do 5. As a matter of fact, the next time you may do 6. You might surprise yourself. So I would say in this life, when we set goals and those goals are not achieved at the timeline that we give, then let's not browbeat ourselves. We just go ahead and say, hey, you know what? I'm still going to do it. And I think that happens a lot of time when people don't allow themselves to grow, don't allow, especially our young men. I find that a lot among our young men, that they get so macho. Y'all get so macho. Not some of y'all. That when things doesn't happen when we think it should happen, then we shut down. Well, I ain't gonna say because I'm not a dude. Then some men have a tendency of just saying, hey, forget it. But what about tomorrow? Mm-hmm. What about next week? What did you learn? You learn from, that opponent, the next time I see that dude, I already know that he's got a good left kick. Right. So you're going to stick to the right of him. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when things don't go right the first time, then you learn, you watch and you see what's ahead of you. And then you go ahead on and you make the move better. That you can do that 5.
Appreciate you. Any more questions?
How you guys doing? How are y'all? Are y'all all right?
Yeah, man.
We all right.
I mean, it's the last couple of weeks, so it's a bit hard.
Okay.
Right. So you gotta finish strong. So we hanging in there. We thugging it out.
You said we. I said.
How
are you
individual?
You speak for you.
Me.
Yeah, how you doing over there at this different college?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a good, different experience, but really good experience for me.
Okay.
That's why I met my guy over there,
Okay.
Jovan.
Okay.
We lived together, but
Okay.
I met a lot of good people over there, and it's been a good experience for me, a different experience, but really good. That I feel like I needed as a person to grow, for sure, definitely, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Archie, how you coming along?
I'm good. This year was like really teachable for me. A lot of tough times this year, but
What made it tough?
just a lot to do with soccer.
Okay.
Yeah, so I tore my ACL. Obviously, that was rough. That was like my first major injury.
Okay.
I had to go through that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and just different things after that. Some personal things that I had to deal with.
Okay.
But overall, like I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
overcoming it. You know.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. All right, Amos?
Yeah, I'm doing well. You know, can't complain. Even sometimes I do complain, but I'm doing well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
overall.
So what makes it well now versus...
I think this current stage I'm at right now, it's been a long year.
Yeah.
It's been a long year.
And the year just started.
And the year just started. That is true. It's just April.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking
Last
from
year.
last year to this
year.
year, last semester to this semester.
It's sim school year.
Same school year.
Right.
It's been a long school year. To say.
okay,
It's been a
yeah,
long
yeah.
school year.
Yeah.
A lot of changes to my life. Not being able to play soccer for college anymore. Adjusting to just being a student. Just solely just focusing on that and pursuing what I love to do in a classroom. I think, and then people will say, as cliche as it sounds, like things happen for a reason. And me not being able to play this year really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I don't think I would have come across if it hadn't been God moving things the way He did. So I'm doing well.
Okay.
That's to say, I'm doing well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh? First time I met you. So how you coming along, young man?
Honestly, we're talking about school year. It's been a new scenery for me. I came from a different university in Ohio,
Okay.
where I felt like, you know, I lived most of my college life with the people that made me comfortable here, if that makes sense. And, you know, leaving that and finding, you know, same type of people here, it felt like there's a new scenery, but maybe it's for the better and it helps me to become a better person every day. But if I'm being honest, like, yes, we all struggle day to day with something in our life, but, you know, I'm learning more and more as we conversate and stuff like that, that it's not only me that goes through stuff. You know, people are going through way more stuff than me. And it's not that I'm putting it off. I know they say, oh, men like to put it off and stuff like that, but I feel like there's something in us that we want to fight. You know, we want to not put our problems aside, but we want to not being macho, I would say. Like, you just using the word macho, but we want to fix something, if that makes sense. And we can't fix ourselves in that sense. I look for someone to try to motivate me, and, you know, I could find a sense of like being comfortable around people, and this is where I feel comfortable. And this year I feel like I have been growing like tremendously as an individual, and it's shaping me up really well. And I feel like as it comes to an end, like, I have a lot to take with me going forward.
Okay.
A lot. So for me, it's been a good year, ups and downs for sure, but it's good, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I just that's life.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I introduced life to my girls. I told them, and I'm going to say the same thing to you guys, to you gentlemen, that life. I told them, I said, I want you to meet someone, and I said, it will be your best friend or your worst enemy. It would be there for you when you want it to be there, and it'll be there for you when you don't want it to be there. It'll speak a bunch of sweet nothings and a bunch of good things. It will appear and disappear at random. It'll break your heart and make your heart happy. It'll strengthen you, and sometimes it'll make you weak. It'll make you struggle with things that are supposed to be normal, And it'll cause you to even question your own ability. And I said, Daria, Carmen, those are my daughter's names. I said, this is life. Life meet my girls. Girls meet life. And the same thing I would say to you gentlemen, it's life. Life is wonderful. Life is worth living. Life is a motivating factor. Life will challenge us to become our best. Life will let us know where we're weak and where we're strong. But one thing about it is that we have to have the tenacity to be able to endure, because everything has an ending point. But it's where you want to be when your life ends, because we talk about faith, perspective, temporal, eternal. And so I would say that also a question came up the other day. I think Amy said, well, which one is important? The most important, temporal or eternal? Both are important, because temporal are the things that are here for right now that determines how we're going to spend our eternity. Eternity is forever, but it's the little temporary things, it's the little things that we do in life today that affects our tomorrow, that really dictate where our eternity is going to be. And so success is I appreciate that it is defined according to where we are in life, and it's not a stamp that's approved by everyone, but it's all together different. So I appreciate you guys.
We appreciate
this has been
but
fun.
Though, how are you doing? How is Miss Gloria doing?
Great question.
How are you doing?
You know what?
Great question.
I am sometimes unexplainable happy.
Miss Gloria, please break that one down. Break that down. Unexplainable happy.
Sometimes the things, when you are where you're supposed to be, and when you see God allowing me to be of this age and allow me to cross the path of young people and be able to speak into them, and then to see them mature and to see them grow, and to know that somewhere down the line, that when they leave here, that I hope when they think of me, that they smile. What great success is that? That's why I said it's unexplained, and then there's just other things. So I am doing wonderful because I am successful, because I'm walking in my purpose, and I'm achieving the goals that God has allowed me to achieve. It's to cross your path and to see you come in as young men and leave as gentlemen.
You heard that, gentlemen.
Yeah, you heard it here first, man. On the group chat, man, from Miss Gloria herself. Miss Gloria, before we wrap things up, and Mike just showed up, and it would be hard for them to see Mike, but
Come on, Mike.
Mike, please come sit. 'Cause Mike was looking forward to seeing you.
Oh, hey, Mike.
No. Earlier today, and ever since we had that conversation, and he just been like, "Oh, I can't wait," and I'm like, "Same, I can't wait." And I think Mike just had a questions for you.
Okay.
Mike, any questions you have for Miss Gloria?
I don't know if you've already covered this or not, but I was wondering to hear like your story, your background, because we always see you in the hall every day, and you're so friendly, and it always makes everyone's day. But I want to know more about your story, like where you come from, and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, Lord, what do you mean? Where I got to at the work job, or who I am as a
Who you are as a person?
I come from, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. My mom was a single parent. I am the middle child of 11 children. I believe that why I'm here where I am today is because my mother was so wise and so friendly and so loving. And because the things that we went through in life, it made me to be very conscientious of my environment and people. I remember, and this is going to be a part of what I believe, that is so important, to be kind. I remember when I was a little girl, had to been about 6 years old. And it was raining one night. It was real foggy. And this man came. He was a tall, when you're little, everyone seemed to be tall. And so we were living near an alley, and this man came out of nowhere. And my mom was in the kitchen at that time. You're not afraid of strangers. Now it's stranger danger. And so we said, Mama, there's a man out here. My mother came out, and he said, Ma'am, I'm so hungry. And she said, well, hold on, let me, fix you a sandwich. My mother went in and made him a bologna sandwich. And I remember just as clear that we had, you had to step down off the porch. The man got the sandwich. He said, thank you for your kindness. He stepped off the porch. And by the time we looked, the man was nowhere to be found. And my mother told us, be careful how you treat people, because she thought it was an angel. And so that was the part that molded me to be kind to people, because you just never know. And then the Bible says, be careful how you entertain strangers, because some have entertained angels unaware. And so that's the thing that made me want to be kind, because I just never know. And then her taking us to church. And I used to work for the school. I started off as a paraeducator, and I ended up being a substitute teacher. The laws began to change, and I had to get out of there. And so I ended up at Holy Cross. My daughter played basketball 2014. That's what brought me to Holy Cross. And then from there on, I've been there. And the paths and the children, the young people that's crossed my path has molded me as well. Now, don't think Miss Gloria don't have problems and difficulties. But I've learned so much as well by crossing the path of young people. I've learned a lot of things from our students there. I've learned to love unconditional. I've learned to listen. I've learned that, believe it or not, that the majority of the students suffered the same problems, but at different times. So, and as far as my coming to work, what motivates me to come to work every morning is to know that maybe I need to say something. I need to be here just in case if someone needs to ask me something. I pray every day before I come into that building, Lord, you bless this campus. And then you bless me so that when someone crosses my path, that I could speak something into their life, that they will live. So that's my motivating factor every day. When I get up, who am I going to talk to today? And lo and behold, I had a conversation with you for the first time. The other day.
Yeah,
I was like,
that.
Not at all. It's like, wow, wow.
That was unexpected for me too.
Unexpected, yeah.
Yeah,
I learned some things.
I learned a lot more probably than you did from me.
And I smiled. When you left, I smiled. I said, oh my God. That was fun. You guys are fun. So, Good to see you, Mike.
Great to see you.
But anyway, yeah, that's it, Miss Gloria. But appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate
you
y'all.
for coming and your time. Today in class, my professor said something. He said, "Attention is the purest form of generosity." He said that in class in the mic.
You did.
Oh, I believe that.
I and all these guys here appreciate
Oh, wow.
giving us your attention.
Oh, wow.
And I wrote that down because I was like, man, I know like I said, thank you God in advance for this because I wanna refer back to this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, because you know what? I listen. I hear, but I listen. Listen gives you the ability to reason with what someone is saying. It's intentional. Listening is intentional to dissect what someone is saying so that we can come up with a resolve. If I hear you, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But listening is paying attention to what is being said so you can come up with the resolve.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than someone not listening. They hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. But are you listening? But
true.
that's awesome. I'm going to copy that.
Yeah, appreciate your attention. Thank you for listening. Even previous episode, taking the time to even listen to that episode and come here with your own questions for us. That goes a long way. For me, this week, that was one of the things that kept me going. God, I can't wait for Friday.
Oh my God.
I just I can't wait for Friday. I can't wait for Friday. Friday's finally here, and it's everything I wanted it to be.
Oh, wow.
And this is something that when we leave this summer, when he leaves. I'm gonna look back on this episode and just oh my gosh, that was a good time. And it's So
thank y'all.
It's shared experiences that last forever. So this is definitely gonna last forever.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Now I'm ready for that rice.
Great episode.
Yeah, go eat that jollof rice, Yeah, man. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. This is Miss Gloria. Comment down in the comment section. Any questions that you have, I will relate this message to her, and she could answer your questions if you do have any questions. But yeah, again, appreciate you, Miss Gloria.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.